U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris officially conceded defeat to her Republican rival Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential election.
That being said, Kamala Harris has vowed not to concede the fight that fueled her campaign. Listen to this.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting.
Her supporters at Howard cheered for her as she urged them to accept the result of the election. She also told them she had declared winner Trump to congratulate him.
Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
Now, Harris warned of a dark time but ended her speech calling for optimism and faith.
I know many people feel like we are entering a dark time, but for the benefit of us all, I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing, America, if it is, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant, brilliant billion of stars. The light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service. H.U. And may that work guide us, even in the face of setbacks, toward the extraordinary promise of the United States of America.
Trump won the U.S. presidential election for a second term, handing Harris a defeat in one of the most remarkable comebacks in American electoral history. The Republican won more than half of the U.S. states, including key battlegrounds Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan and Wisconsin, all of which voted Democratic in the last election. And that gave him 295 electoral votes as against Harris 226. Final calls were yet to be made, of course, later, but that was the result and he was declared the winner.
All right, for more on this, we're now being joined live by Tom Cronin from Colorado. He's a political analyst, author, film producer, and a former White House staff. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA this morning.
It's good to be with you.
Mr. Cronin, I believe at this point the most obvious question is, where do you think the Democrat camp went wrong?
The Democrats had a difficult challenge because the incumbent president was unpopular. He had a lot of very good programs that were helping the economy and investing in American technology, but he himself was not a great communicator, and he became unpopular over a 2 or 3 year period, and that made it very hard for his vice president to run a campaign in a short period. American elections usually go on for a year or two. She had to run a campaign in slightly over 100 days. And she ran a good campaign, but Donald Trump had been running for 9 years, including serving one term as president himself. So the Democrats had a tough time there were two issues that were very challenging for the Democratic ticket this year. One was inflation, which is coming down now, but which a lot of working class Americans were concerned about in terms of the price of groceries and gasoline and so on. And another one was the large number of illegal immigrants that are coming over our southern border. And that is an issue that the Democrats had failed to address adequately during the Biden administration. And Vice President Kamala Harris had a very difficult time coming up with new ideas or fresh ideas that were convincing.
Mr. Cronin, as far as the figures that have come in of the vote share, majority of the white voters, men and women, they voted for Trump. Even the Hispanics, the majority of the black men and women, they voted for Harris. A lot of voices, after seeing certain details, said America was not ready for a woman president of mixed race. Is your assessment of that different, or do you differ in opinion?
I'm afraid to say that there is some prejudice among some Americans towards women and towards people who are recent immigrants. Kamala Harris was a first-generation American, and she also was in an interracial marriage, which bothers some Americans, not many these days. But she probably was the recipient of unwanted and wrong-headed prejudice. Yes, I don't think that may have been the determining factor in the election. In an election that was very close, in many states, it may have been a factor.
Right, Mr. Cronin, of course, let's talk about some of Trump's policies as well, just to get an idea of what Trump's presidency is going to mean for the United States. And, of course, global affairs as well. He has already spoken of a blanket 10% tariff on all imported goods, his push to ensure European nations pay more for their security, and his clear ambition to stop the Russia-Ukraine war. He has also said that he will stop all wars. We've also heard about his stance on immigration. So what does a Trump presidency mean?
Well, he's made a lot of promises and he's done a lot of bragging. It remains to be seen. The Congress is going to be quite divided, even though it looks as though it may be controlled by his own party, political party. But he has said all those things that you're talking about, and I think he'll scale back some of the promises. On the immigration issue, for example, he's talked about mass deportation, which might involve millions of Americans who are undocumented or without citizenship. My own prediction is that he'll go after and work on trying to deport those who have a criminal record or are involved in drug traffic. And so his overall policy will be modified in one way or another, at least in the first year or two. He does brag about his fondness for tariffs. He used tariffs a lot in his economic trade negotiations when he was in office 4 years ago. And one interesting thing on this matter is that a lot of people in the business community and investment community are less keen about tariffs because of their inflationary and economic impact, particularly on working class Americans. So I suspect that his tariff proposals will be introduced, but will be watered down by his advisors and by members even of his own political party.
Mr. Cronin, from the European perspective, do you feel Europe, the entire Union at this point, would be looking at this next term of Trump with a lot of caution because they are concerned, given the kind of statements he has already made in his campaign? Especially, I'm referring to the statement regarding NATO nations not paying enough for their defense expenditure.
You're correct. He has said those statements, and he acted on that when he was president 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, and he succeeded in getting NATO nations to contribute more of their defense budgets to the NATO overall military assignment. I think he'll continue to do that. He has found that a popular issue in America and in his political party here, and European leaders are justifiably cautious about Trump because he's unpredictable. and he has a certain amount of swagger and an attitude of America first, and he is less of an internationalist than many of the leaders in both political parties, and he's more of an American first or a nationalistic kind of leader. He's also a populist leader, and as you know, in your country and around all of Europe, populism has taken hold in a way that's not only anti-immigrants, but involved in encouraging nationalism. And he's a prime example of that. But he's not alone in this country. There are many leaders in several countries who espouse similar populism kinds of views.
Mr. Cronin, regardless of what his views are, there is no denying the fact that there were no wars in his term from 2016 to 2020. And even as far as India is concerned, India's foreign policy has maintained ties across the world. But thank you so much for joining us, sir. That was Tom Cronin joining us from Colorado. Always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Best wishes to you.